Alright guys, what is going on and how y'all doing tonight? This is the Club of the Man 1993 and I am here live for my live review of last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, the November 2nd, 2022 edition. And it took place in Baltimore, Maryland. We're about 2 weeks away, I think it is, from Full Gear. I gotta be honest, this was an episode, if it wasn't for a few things I actually did like things that were really good, like the main event match, the triple threat match for the All Atlantic title, and of course, the Acclaimed segment, again, yes, was good, but then of course it just got odd. This was definitely not one of the best episodes of Dynamite I've seen. This was kind of messy and kind of inconsistent. And a lot of things that literally just did not make sense at all, in my opinion. There was some things I was just like, what the hell is going on? And episodes like this, I'm almost embarrassed to come up and talk about. Well, there's still good things to talk about. But I'm starting to get a little sick of talking about AEW. Because every time I talk about them more, like there's drama going on. There's like this big, I feel like this big poison's coming down all of a sudden. Like you can't like AEW anymore. Here's the thing. I get the drift. I get the drift. The momentum has changed since July. The worst thing to happen to AEW this year was Vince McMahon retiring. Because the momentum shifted like crazy back towards their direction. And then all this backstage drama happened. And, it's just, Tony Khan just has his hands way too full. And rather than getting help, hiring a team, he is trying to get everything, do everything himself. And it's shown for it. The quality of these shows are dipping. And here's the thing. We still have great talent. We have a stacked, bloated roster. But whenever you have messy stuff like the stuff with Jade Cargill and the TBS title right now, it's making absolutely no sense. When you overdid that opening segment, well, the big reveal after Darby Allin and Jay Lethal's match, to Jon Moxley, who, I love Jon Moxley, but what's the point of him being a world champion right now? Other than the fact that they probably just wanted to put the vacated belt on him, so that way somebody who won't suffer too much from a loss from MJF, he's only there just to have MJF win the belt off of someone, I feel like. No offense, I love Moxley, but even both title reigns he's had this year, for the most part, there's really been not much of a story for him being world champion. It feels like he's just there as a placeholder, it feels like. And just like a bunch of other things. That is, and again, the problem is too, don't get me wrong, I like seeing Brian Cage get TV time. I like seeing Samoa Joe. I don't mind them bringing in somebody from New Japan as well. I don't mind. But I also think Tony's relying too much on his partnerships also with other promotions. People don't know who Katsuyori Shibata is. People don't know, who Dalton Castle is. There are people who don't know who Bandito. Like, a bunch of people they've recently brought in from different promotions. And my one friend said it. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Forbidden Door was an amazing show. But I gotta agree with my friend and say that they basically just showed up and they expected us to know who these people are. And here's the thing. There's a lot of great talent out there that I know of. But it's like I always say with, the Attitude Era. Like, all the greatness from, back in the early days whenever before I started watching wrestling. I could go back and watch that stuff. I can't appreciate it, though, as much as people who did experience that when it happened. That's the problem I have. Like, it's great moments, don't get me wrong, but, the oh my goodness moments aren't there in me, because, again, I can't appreciate it as much. I'd have to go back and, watch all the way from the beginning. My one friend does that, actually, but I don't have the time to do that. I do not have the time to watch the history of WWE or wrestling or all other promotions from beginning to end. So, but, again, I get it. AEW having so many cracks for him right now. Has so much drama going on. It doesn't mean, though, you still can't continue to enjoy the product if you do enjoy it. Like I said, I don't feel like, when I lost my interest in NXT, it felt like the show was a sinking ship. AEW, although, yes, there's cracks in it, there's still things that I look forward to seeing. Happen on the shows. There's still interest there. And if you don't feel that way, that's fine. But if I feel that way, it's fine too. But again, I'm coming here being brutally honest. There were things on this show I did not like. And that's why, of course, I gave it the grade I gave it. Because the stuff that I did like was really good. And I mean, really good. So that's what saved me from, giving the show like a D plus or a C minus. But we're gonna talk about the show. We gotta get into it. Anyways, what we got here in the live chat? We got Tyler giving the show a C plus as well. And his typical stuff he usually says. JR, I would love to see Roman Reigns versus Johnny Gargano, which would be a great match. Roman versus Randy. Haven't gotten that since 2014, so yes. And love to see Roman versus Gunther. Great matches there for sure. I agree on it for sure. Why was Jeff Jarrett doing on this show? Are they doing another feud with Jarrett and Sting in another brand? I guess they have had a history. We'll talk about that segment, of course, when it happens. Jarrett says, I personally think that Charlotte Flair should return to WWE, but I think she should return back to WWE on NXT. I don't know how that would work, because I don't know much of the women in NXT. Tyler wants Roman and AJ to be at WrestleMania. That would be an excellent main event match, honestly, if they would do that. I don't think it's going to happen, though, but that would be an excellent main event match. Do you think that if Andrade loses that match on Rampage tomorrow night against... Is it happening tomorrow? They're doing it tomorrow? I didn't hear any advertisements about it. I don't know. At this point, again, I don't want to debate about who's leaving, who should leave and go back to WWE. I'm just letting whatever happens, because I'm tired of that whole debate. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the whole thing. Each promotion has its pros and its cons. And that's this point. They're both watchable. Yes, WWE has more momentum. So, whoever stays, cool. Whoever goes back, cool. I'm done talking about that part, that in my opinion. Tyler wants Charlotte to take the belt off of Horseface. Are we getting Saraya versus Britt Baker at Full Gear? I'm pretty sure we are. Tyler doesn't feel like reviewing Full Gear. It's fine. Keith Lee, in my opinion, should not be in a tag team. I think he should feud with John Moxley for the world title. Which he could. Again, I think, like I said, I like what they're doing with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Giving two main event caliber stars like a tag team that have something to do to build up their star credibility in the meantime until the opportunity for the singles feuds open up for them. Which is kind of what they did with Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. But I feel like by the end of the year, that will be split up. I honestly thought that in the Christian Ring of Honor World Title Open Challenge match, I honestly thought that Adam Cole would return and face Jericho. That would be a hell of a match. Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's ROH Championship is his worst run as world title since 2002. I actually kind of disagree with that. I've actually really... Here's the thing. I've liked what Jericho's done with the Ring of Honor World title. The problem I have, though, is it feels more important than the AEW World title right now. Which, again, and here's my thing, too. If they wanted to really strike a new TV deal, instead of having Dynamite and Rampage, make Rampage like Ring of Honor's show. Like, if you want to have those two, but again, with the roster being bloated, AEW has a roster for a brand split. And if that's what it takes to do, again, have Ring of Honor on one night, Dynamite on another night, just do that. But, I've talked about all this enough. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was reading my stuff in the live chat. Thank you guys for your comments and your opinions, of course, always in the live chat. I appreciate it, but let's just go through the show real quickly. Again, I want to talk about the good things, but just get the bad things out of the way with too as well. So, this show, we opened up with a match with Jay Lethal and Darby Allin. The match was fine. I thought the match was pretty good. Darby Allin was taped up as he was selling whenever he got the garage door dropped on him. I did like how he did like that his suicide dive into Satnam Singh, and Singh just like barely even sold it. But then after the match, first, Jay Lethal won because someone dressed like Sting showed up in the ring. And I'm like, okay, who is this? I'm intrigued. The guy takes a mask off to reveal himself, and it's some guy named Cole Carter. And apparently he's from the Factory? QT Marshall's stable? And I'm like, okay, that was a flop. Because, like, no offense, who cares about the Factory? Like, even when QT Marshall first split from Dustin Rhodes, I was like, meh, whatever. Because, again, he just doesn't stand out as, like, a big name. He doesn't. So this felt very flat. I'm like, okay, who's this guy? Because there's some story here, I guess, where Jay Lethal and his crew said they know somebody who knows Darby's weakness. But then, not only does he appear, then we have Sting's music play. And it's like, okay, Sting is coming back. Nope. Someone walks into the ring, and I'm thinking, is that Jeff Jarrett? And sure enough, it was. So Jeff Jarrett, which, again, I guess they had a feud with him and Sting or something like that, I'm not really aware of. But Jeff Jarrett then strikes Darby Allin in the head with his guitar. And then he basically gets on the mic and says that Sting is Darby's greatest weakness. He calls out the locker room and every bozo the clown all the way up to down to the rabid, delusional AEW fan base. He then just says how he's gonna, take over AEW basically with his group now or something like that. But before he's done with this place, there's gonna be body bags. We can all choke on that slap nuts. First off, why did Jeff Jarrett just come out in the Sting mask? Why did I have to get this Cole Carter guy that nobody knows? Like, it felt too overdone. Like, Cole Carter, who are you? And now Jeff Jarrett saying to Sting how Sting is Darby's biggest weakness? Like, I think Sting and Darby have done excellent together. Matter of fact, I'll be honest, how have they not had a shot for the World Tag Titles yet? They should. They've won every match together, I believe it is. So that idea makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, again, the match they had was great, but that fall afterwards, I'm like, what the hell is this? Didn't make sense to me, in my opinion. We have a recap, of course, what happened between MJF and the Firm splitting last week. Then Jon Moxley cuts a promo about how he loves Baltimore's atmosphere, and it's just another night for him, but a career changer for his opponent, Lee Moriarty. All he has to do is rely on his talents and skills. And then Lee feels snubbed by the Blackpool Combat Club, but he wasn't snubbed. And Moxley likes him quite a bit, but he's just not mean or nasty enough for the BCC. Tonight, he's going to give Lee a lesson in pain and perseverance and show him how to dig deep. And if he's got any armor-plated armor or angst or revenge deep inside, now's the time to bring it to the surface, because he ain't got time for anything else. So then we have a match, Jon Moxley versus Lee Moriarty, and Ethan Page is on commentary, and I guess he's going to be in this World Title Eliminator Number 1 Contenders tournament. Basically, whoever wins at Full Gear will face the winner of this Eliminator tournament, which will also conclude at Full Gear. This match with Moxley and Moriarty was okay, but I don't know. First off, I said before, Moxley, I mean, I love Jon Moxley. Don't get me wrong. I definitely view him as a hero. I love, the example he has set and like, the story he's told since he left WWE, his reasoning, the point across he was trying to make of like, you don't need to be paying $10 million to do something you hate. You take less money, and that the only the amount of money you need, not the amount of money that you're not. And he said too, if he got $10 million, what was he gonna do with $10 million? He got everything he wanted. He wanted to have fun. He wanted to be more creative. He wanted to be more him. That, what he did last year around this time when he was having his alcohol issues, he checked into alcohol rehab, bettered himself. The promo he cut after the whole media scrum, basically, there's still people who actually do care. Like, God bless him. I respect the 100% hell out of him. And he's definitely somebody I hope I get a chance to meet someday. But he's been pretty much a placeholder with the world title. Like, all he's doing is fighting random people with no stories. Like, it's no different than for when Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy were tag champs. They were having good matches, winning matches, but what was the point for them? There was no, like, story in their character or whatnot. And in Lee Moriarty, I see the potential in him, but I don't know, because, this story, even though I think what would actually make them look better is if all this time we reveal at Full Gear that MJF, is still, with the firm, and he was just trying to, pull different tactics to be a true villain, to, show that the soft side of him is a joke or a ruse. Because if they're not with MJF, they feel no different than the Factory, in my opinion. Like, they don't feel unique. They're not. I mean, other than W. Morrissey, who of course I've always been a fan of. Like, I mean, yeah, like all of them have potential, but like, how many has Ethan Page ever had a big victory? Like Lee Moriarty, Gun Club. It's like they're all low card. Most of them are low card guys that I could give two shits about. So it's not clicking for me. It's not. Like, again, if they were with MJF, maybe it would benefit a little bit more. But, I don't know. I'm just not too into the firm. And I think that's what we'll probably have this match. Moxley, of course, won. Afterwards, though, Ethan Page lays out Moxley. As, again, he's going to be in the World Title Eliminator Tournament. We have an interview with... It was supposed to be Renee Paquette, Saraya, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. But Britt decided not to show up. She didn't want to waste her time with this. So anyways, we had Renee talk with Saraya, who we all know in real life are really good friends. And Saraya talks about wanting to come to AEW ever since it started, and it was just a matter of working the timing out, and she thinks she can help the women's division. Renee addresses, her injuries and retirement. But Saraya says, I got one more doctor she wants to consult with before making an announcement, which she will next week. Which, okay, she's already gotten physical and whatnot. She's had the, brawls with Britt Baker. I think it's safe to say at this point that she is cleared. And I'm pretty sure if she wasn't going to get cleared, she wouldn't have signed. So, like, that's not going to be some big, woohoo, like revealed to me next week, in my opinion. Anyways, there's some weird person in the live chat. Hold on. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need a scammer in the live chat. Hopefully, okay, yes. Just want to make sure I did to the next person, to the right person, because that was, we don't need a scammer in the live chat. Anyways, we then have an interview with Regal, and he says MJF showed him he's got a long way to go to be a true villain. At Full Gear, all the potential in the world won't win him the world title when he has to face a real demon in Jon Moxley. And then, of course, we had my fiance's favorite time of the night, because that's the main reason why I should watch AEW with me, is because of the Acclaimed dead Scissor Me Daddy Ass! But it's Billy Gunn's birthday. And I guess on Friday on Rampage, I didn't get to watch the segment. There was a segment where Swerve Strickland took a pair of pliers and broke Billy Gunn's fingers. That way he couldn't scissor. Anyway, so Anthony Bowens says that since Billy's been injured and can't scissor, they will have they can't have a daddy ass birthday bash out scissoring. They got him a number one foam scissor fingers and put it on his fingers, and they were able to do, the scissoring. They, of course, asked the crowd to throw up their scissor signs, and then Max Caster then took the scissors from a fan towards the front row, and then gave them to Billy Gunn and wished him a happy birthday. But then, of course, they rattle off, his accomplishments, and I think they all also had. I think Caster had a line, basically saying, they invited, the whole crew there, but basically, I can't remember what the line exactly was, but it pretty much was them firing a shot at WWE for not, accepting the mention of AEW to have Billy Gunn go to the reunion for DX, basically, which was a good line there. And also he had a good, shoot on Elon Musk as well. Anyways. But most importantly, he's a Hall of Famer, a stand-up guy, and the world's greatest daddy. And then they presented first with a world's greatest dad trophy. Not the world's greatest dad shirt like it was in that Seinfeld episode. With Iggy Mandelbaum. Mandelbaum. Anyways. Here was the line. Anthony Bowen says he had a lot more planned, special guests from Gunn's past, but 2 canceled at the last minute, and the others were upset he didn't go to their reunion. And then, basically, they then pull out an adoption certificate, and both Bowens and Caster have signed it. They basically want Billy Gunn to adopt them as his children. They want Daddy Ass to literally be the legitimate daddy for them. And as Billy Gunn is about to sign it, here come the Ass Boys. And this is where the segment just they're like, why did we get an invitation? Because they turned on their father, for crying out loud. And they, they bickered and then they brawled, but then FTR made the save, and they basically implied that, they saved the Acclaim, but then they implied they're going to be coming after those tag titles eventually, as the Gun Club did cost them last week. Why did the Gun Clubs get involved? Well, yes, they are Billy Gunn's real life sons. And yes, they're... You see, even so, I'm still not able to quite put... Okay, yes, they not able to put, the connection together. Because why would it matter to them who fights the Acclaimed for the tag titles. Either way, they're going to want whoever fights to win the titles off of Billy Gunn's crew and whatnot. So I don't know why the Gun Club's involved, but there was a segment with later on tonight with Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, where obviously there's more cracks break between them. But next week, I guess we're having a match with FTR and the Acclaimed teamed up to take on Swerve and Our Glory and the Gun Club, which will be interesting, of course, as Keith Lee, who is holding his morals, will be teamed up with all heels. So that will be a little interesting, but again, I don't really care much for the Gun Club, so, you know. Anyways, we have Britt Baker backstage, who's demanding a tag match to wrestle on Friday with Jamie Hayter, who is going to be taking on Toni Storm at Full Gear for the Women's World Title. Chris Jericho came out with the Jericho Appreciation Society, and he is challenging another former Ring of Honor champion of any title. It could be just the World Title, the Pure Champion, Television Champion, Tag Team Champion, Women's Champion. He said he would fight women. But then the person who it was Colt Cabana, which of course is very interesting because Colt Cabana, aka Scott Colton, is the main reason why CM Punk went off in that media scrum. So does this mean Punk is gone for sure since they gave Colt Cabana another shot on TV again? I don't know. But again, at this point, I don't care to even talk about that whole stupid scrum anymore. Whoever stays, cool. Whoever goes, goes. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I'm done talking about it. But yeah, Colt Cabana got the shot. And he had the match with Jericho. The crowd was pretty hot for Colt. But he had a decent match. We did have Jake Hager and Daniel Garcia try to get involved a few times. But off of the strategy, Chris Jericho retained the Ring of Honor World title with the Code Breaker. And, of course, they were then started beating down. They then beat down on Ian Riccaboni off the commentary desk for Ring of Honor. Jericho then breaks his glasses, and he starts to, he basically, teasing he's going to take him out. But then Claudio Castagnoli, who is probably getting a match at their December pay-per-view against Jericho, which will probably win the Ring of Honor World title back, come out and make the save. And then we get more of a brawl as Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta. And there was a big brawl basically between the BCC and the JAS. Cool. Not the most flashy thing in the world, but cool. We then have an interview with Pac. With Death Triangle. As Rey Fenix is going to be involved in the triple threat match for the All-Atlantic Championship. Pac, though, again, just like they're doing with Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, Keith Lee, who has his morals, who doesn't want to, cheat to win. Then you have Pac, who's been obsessed with using this golden hammer lately in his matches. He's telling Phoenix, when in doubt, use the hammer. Especially in this triple threat match, because there is no disqualifications. But we had the match next, and I thought it was awesome. A lot of crazy spots in this match for sure, and I love the storytelling. Of course, we did have Pac, trying to give Rey Fenix the hammer, but Phoenix refused to use it. Of course, it would cost him the match. So then you get, because as Orange Cassidy did pin Rey Fenix to retain the title. But of course, the other thing that happened in this match too was Jungle Boy returned, and he did a very nice crossbody on Luchasaurus. And of course, he ran off Christian Cage with the chair, but that was nice. I look forward to them probably having a rematch at Full Gear, which will be pretty darn good. But that was great to see. And that was all great. Afterwards, though, Pac snaps after the match, and he beats down on Orange Cassidy. And then appearing was New Japan Pro Wrestling's Katsuyori Shibata. And he brought out the Best Friends and Rocky Romero. And then Pac goes to leave, but then Shibata, who they had like a segment back at Forbidden Door, And he hands him a contract, and he wants a shot for Orange Cassidy's title. Cassidy fills out the contract and accepts. I think we're getting that match tomorrow on Rampage, I've heard. So yeah, I don't know much about Shibata. All I do know is that apparently he did have a severe head injury a couple years ago, and he literally almost lost his career. So, again, I don't know much about him, but he's back and healthy. Happy for him for sure. We'll see. Maybe I'll get a little more behind him, though. But that's interesting. Having Shibata come in. Then we did have the segment with Swerve and Keith Lee, and they were talking with Rick Ross, and all that jazz. And then we had this match here. Oh God. What the hell is the point with this stuff with Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose, with Nyla Rose stealing the TBS title? Like, they had this match, Jade Cargill and Marina Shafir. The match was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But during the match, Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose came out and did some horrible, commentary crap that was just, oh my goodness, it was ear piercing. It was dreadful. Jade Cargill won because it was technically a TBS title match, but again, this whole thing makes no sense. All women involved in this are heels. Okay, I can't explain it. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Cargill and Shafir were just horrible out in the ring. I'm sorry. It just, they don't work together too well. This was horrible. And I heard that people were even, because I think I read somewhere, I don't remember who it was, but some famous YouTuber, when this match was first announced, said this ain't gonna be a good match. There were AEW women's wrestlers apparently tweeting towards him, telling him basically, just pissing on him because he didn't think this match was gonna be good. My other thing too is, who the hell is even gonna beat Jade Cargill that's worth a damn at this point? Because they really flopped with Athena. Athena should have dethroned Jade. I don't get why they didn't do that, and they flopped on that match. That match was awful at All Out. Very disappointed with that. So I don't know where they're going with this. I still think that this storyline's stupid as hell with what they're doing with that. We did, though, get a House of Black vignette that was interesting. Julia Hart was mourning the lives of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. But then at the last shot was Malachi seeming to open up his eyes, and we hear something like that. Malachi asked for forgiveness from the Black Father or something like that. So it looks like we are getting the House of Black back pretty soon. Which I don't know if it'll still be a few weeks. It might be when War starts with vignettes, but I'm definitely surprised that they're coming back now. I thought Malachi would at least be gone until the beginning of until the end of the year. I thought, which okay, it's November, but still, you know what I mean. Not come back until January. So I'm definitely surprised he's coming back now, but we'll see. I'm hoping the House of Black do get a little bit more of a better push. Because I'm not saying their previous push was horrible, but it's just bloated roster. Not much for them to do. Hopefully they come back and they stand out a little bit more. Which I hope happens. So we got that. And then we have our main event, which is the Ring of Honor World Television Championship match between Samoa Joe and Brian Cage. Very great match. These two have really, really good chemistry. Doing some nice big man moves on the two of them. I mean, it was more of a power match, but it was impressive. I really enjoyed this match. Samoa Joe does win, getting Cage to tap out with the Coquina Clutch. Thought that maybe had a chance they could have put the belt on Cage. I know people have been screaming to give Brian Cage more TV time again. They didn't give him the belt here, but they could eventually. Well, then again, I love seeing guys like Samoa Joe and Brian Cage and, Chris Jericho, doing what he's doing with the Ring of Honor World title. But again, they gotta stop having these, like, partnered companies overshadow what we're here for. The AEW prizes. The AEW roster. Like, they really have to cool back on like, the Ring of Honor stuff and whatnot. It's okay to bring people in, but you're doing it all the time. And like I said earlier, it's making, like, the Ring of Honor titles feel more important than the AEW titles. But afterwards, though, the Gates of Agony came down to beat down Joe. Wardlow, who's now formed an alliance with Samoa Joe, and they're now called War Joe, comes down and makes a save, but then Powerhouse Hobbs comes out of nowhere and lays out Wardlow, and then he ends the show by holding the TNT title. When was the last time we had a TNT title match? I don't know. It's been a very long time since we've had one, I feel like. But if that's a match for Full Gear, Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs, that'll be good. I'm intrigued by that. But that's Dynamite. Very inconsistent, messy show. Like, great stuff, horrible stuff. I gave the show a C+. Because some of the stuff, the stuff I enjoyed most was, I liked the stuff with the Acclaimed up until the Gun Club came out. I really liked the main event with Brian Cage and Samoa Joe. Best match of the night by far was definitely that triple threat match with Orange Cassidy, Luchasaurus, and Rey Fenix. Everything else was decent to blah. So that's why I gave this episode of Dynamite a C+. Gotta fix this here, guys. Live chat before I go off the air. Let me see here. JR says WWE should fire Omos, and Tyler says it's the same thing. Omos ain't it. So, yeah, I agree with that. I think Raquel Gonzalez is going to help the OC at Crown Jewel because Raquel and Rhea Ripley both have history. I didn't think of that one either. But the one thing is, though, is Raquel's on SmackDown, though. That's my only thing about that. But fine by that. I still think it's going to either be Tegan Nox or Piper Niven. But we'll see, of course. I have 3 names that I think should dethrone Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. Samoa Joe, MJF, and Wardlow. It's going to be MJF. All those other names I'm fine with, but it's got to be MJF. I personally think Ricochet should leave WWE and go to AEW. I think he's okay at WWE. He's getting fixed up, but I think he's on the right track back. But he's going to be a little more of a process. But he doesn't need to leave. If this whole MJF thing is a whole ruse, I'm done. Tyler thinks that. I actually will be okay with it being a ruse. Because like I said, I know they've done it how many times, but at least every time they do it, they make it different. And this softer side of MJF is still an intriguing thing. What is the TBS title? Why is the TBS title a thing still? Again, I don't know. And TNA Samoa Joe or WWE Samoa Joe is greater than AEW Samoa Joe. He thinks as well. Okay. But guys, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for joining me live for my live review of Dynamite. Not sure what I'm going to do over the weekend. I definitely will not be able to review SmackDown tomorrow night. But I will, of course, review at some point. Again, I am watching Crown Jewel this weekend, but I'm not watching it till Sunday night. So again, do not send me any spoilers for Crown Jewel. But I will review SmackDown, and I will review Crown Jewel. And just other odds and ends to come. But that's going to do it, guys. That's my live review of Dynamite. C+ this week. We'll see if Tony ever just decides to get the help he needs to not juggle things in his hand the whole time. And, just, I don't know. Again, the quality slipped quite a bit, but again, there's still something there. But if we're going to ever get back on track and actually compete with WWE again, well, not that it was competition before, Tony's got to wake up. And he's got to, get a team together or something. But I'm done talking about all that bullshit, all that drama. Let's get out of here. Let's call it a night. So, guys, C+ for Dynamite. What are your thoughts on AEW Dynamite for this past week? Make sure you guys leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirBoy93. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. And peace out, everybody.